Nauru is the smallest island in the world that constitutes a sovereign state. It's 3 times smaller than San Marino. You can find this tiny nation in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, 4,000 kilometers, that's almost 2,500 miles, between Australia and Hawaii. And basically, we could say that it is a rock in the middle of nowhere. To which you may ask, what on earth is there in Nauru to dedicate an entire Visualeconomik video to? Well, the question is not what there is for us, but what there is for China. We've already told you many times about the Asian giant's voracious appetite for natural resources all over the world, and Nauru seems to be its next target. In fact, they have already reached quite important agreements along these lines.
China agrees to open new chapter in relations with Nauru.
The question is, what is so important on an island lost in the middle of the Pacific that it should be in the Chinese sights? Well, Visualeconomik viewers, the key lies not in the island, but in the ocean it controls. Island states such as Nauru, apart from their land area, control vast ocean territories. Specifically, Nauru has, at its disposal, more than 300,000 square kilometers of ocean. To give you an idea, this is about 5 times the size of Germany. Knowing this, it seems clear that it was only a matter of time before this small island found important deposits with rich natural resources.
Nauru prepares to mine deep seas in big climate controversy.
Nickel, cobalt, manganese, copper. Several kilometers beneath the Nauruan seabed are abundant, underdeveloped polymetallic nodules. These nodules do not require any traditional mining. They are rather small, potato-shaped, mineral-rich rocks that can be harvested by simply removing them from the seabed. The location of these metal nodules is known as the Clarion-Clipperton Zone. That is an area controlled primarily by the island state of Nauru. Thanks to the simplicity of this type of harvesting, TMC, a Canadian mining company that has already reached an agreement with Nauru, estimates that the cost of nickel production could be reduced from $18,000 per ton to around $6,000. And pay attention, because we are not talking about a couple of rocks. An absolutely mind-blowing fact is that an estimated 340 million tons of nickel alone awaits at the bottom of the sea. And this means that, if true, these nodules would triple all the nickel that is available on land. Of course, we're talking about an entire seabed here. But in the Nauru area, TMC plans to start exploitation of a subregion called Nori D. At this site alone, it is estimated that there could be 3.8 million tons of nickel, a figure that more than doubles the annual production of Indonesia, by far the largest nickel producer on the planet. As you can see, the strategic importance of Nauru is huge. We're talking about strategic minerals with very low extraction costs and in large quantities. Therefore, it is not surprising that China has gone all in on doing business with this tiny country. China's generosity has reached such an extent that the island has decided to scrap its relations with Taiwan in order to strengthen its ties with Beijing.
Nauru cuts diplomatic ties with Taiwan in favor of China.
For China, this is quite a significant political achievement. Okay, Nauru is still a very small island nation, but the fact that it is no longer supporting Taiwan, but recognizing the Asian giant is a kind of gift for Beijing. By winning over Nauru, Xi Jinping's regime has dealt Taipei another important diplomatic blow right after its recent presidential election. And so, Nauru adds to China's list of influence in the Pacific Ocean. In recent years, the Solomon Islands, Kiribati, and Nauru have switched their diplomatic allegiance from Taiwan to China. To achieve this, Beijing is pulling out the checkbook. Its aim is to challenge the United States and Australia for power in the region, in an attempt to achieve clear dominance both in political control of the Pacific and above all in the supply chain. Because as time goes by, the increase in demand for natural resources will play a very important role in international economic relations. As you can imagine, it's not a straightforward matter, and that's why we've made an entire video on the subject. In reality, Nauru and China's mining plan faces a major problem: the ISA. The ISA is the International Seabed Authority, a United Nations-backed regulator created in 1994 to protect the ocean floor and regulate mining activities in international areas. So what's the problem? The problem is that the ISA has not yet allowed Nauru to harvest the valuable polymetallic nodules. The reason is that no agreement has yet been reached on how to regulate mining in deep international waters or on controlling its potential impact on the environment. So this type of mining, being so modern, finds itself in a situation situation of legal grey areas and uncertainty. But of course, the ISA will not be able to block mining forever. There is a UN legal provision that indicates that if a country wants to carry out mining activities, the ISA has 2 years to develop that regulation. And do you want to know the best part? In July 2023, almost a year ago, that limit ran out. Theoretically, Nauru could ignore the ISA and start collecting minerals on its own. For the time being, however, this country prefers to be patient and do things with international approval, especially considering that countries such as Norway have already started similar projects.
Norway becomes first country to back deep-sea mining despite environmental concerns.
Fortunately, and even with the delay, the ISA has finally reached an agreement with the countries interested in deep water mining. It will have until July 2025 to regulate this type of extraction. It will be the initial step to start the study of mining licenses in search of valuable metals. All good then, right? Well, many scientists warn that this mining could cause irreversible damage to a vastly unknown ocean floor. Deep sea mining is causing a deep divide among countries in Oceania. While Nauru, Tonga, and the Cook Islands want mining to go ahead, other nations such as Fiji, Palau, and the Solomon Islands are lobbying the international community for more time for scientists to study its impact on marine ecosystems. So it would not be surprising if further restrictions were to be applied in the future. One way or another, this issue is likely to drag on beyond 2025.
Deep Sea Mining Authority targets 2025 for regulations.
But the question in this video is not only about China's moves, because I don't know if you're aware, but apart from this type of mining, Nauru has one of the most interesting stories in the world of economics. About half a century ago, Nauru was the richest country on the planet, richer than the United States, Singapore, or Switzerland. Where did all this wealth come from? You won't believe it, but it came from bird droppings. Yes, that's right. Being the only island 4 miles, it basically became a huge rest stop for birds crossing the Pacifics. These excretions are rich in phosphates, a very important natural resource for crop fertilization. So, what was the problem? The problem was that phosphate mining devastated the island's natural environment and made it virtually uninhabitable. With the depletion of phosphates, the economy collapsed. The Nauruans started wasting all the money they earned from bird poop mining, and now they are poorer than Argentina and Costa Rica. To give you an idea, they burnt through all their money in ruinous investments, such as buying a skyscraper in the Australian city of Melbourne, financing a terrible musical about the life of Leonardo da Vinci, and subsidizing their citizens for the mere fact of existing. And with so many subsidies, the population became sedentary, which led to Nauruans today being one of the most obese populations in the world.
Tiny Nauru battles obesity. Island nation fights addiction to fast food and an alarming rate of diabetes.
About 50% of Nauruans suffer from diabetes and obesity. All this increases the state's expenditure on medical care. After the depletion of phosphate resources, Nauru turned to, let's just call them, undignified activities. For the past 20 years, its main source of income has been to serve as a processing center for migrants attempting to reach Australia illegally. Yep, that's what I said. Nauru has been the collection depot par excellence for the boats turned away by the Australian authorities, basically an island dedicated to the processing of migrants rejected by the Australians. In exchange for what? Well, in exchange for a sum equivalent to 2/3 of its GDP, which was financed by the Australian government. Even so, conditions at this centre have been so bad that the Australians are on the way to closing it down. Nauru is running out of migrant business, and to solve that problem, it has been calling on its friends for years. Do you know who we are talking about? Surprise! Taiwan. Although the falling out between Taiwan and Nauru now occupies more headlines than Prince Harry's divorce rumors, just a few years ago, they were living the island dream together. In 2019, the then president of Nauru visited Taipei, and he did not exactly do so in a serious or confrontational tone. Yes, that gentleman was the president of Nauru, which explains why, following the failed Australia deal, the Nauruans asked for some $83 million from their friends in Taiwan. But in this case, the honeymoon was rather short-lived.
Taiwan isn't playing dollar diplomacy anymore.
Taiwan gave Nauru the brush off, and perhaps in retaliation, the Nauruans thought that allying with China would be the best thing to do. You know, one door closes and another one opens. You may be thinking that the foreign minister must be Neymar's father, or a bigger flirt than Julio Iglesias himself, but no one can be surprised by Nauru's moves. They're experts in this type of business. And if you don't believe me, just ask Putin. In 2009, Russia got Nauru to recognize Abkhazia and South Ossetia in exchange for $70 million.
Nauru agrees to recognize rogue republics for $70 million.
Pure wholesale diplomacy. Many of you will say, those guys on Visualeconomik really love exaggerating. I'm sure it's not that big a deal. And yes, you are right, because other information indicates that Russia only needed to pay $50 million for Nauru to recognize Abkhazia and South Ossetia. And if the Kremlin had released more dough, the Nauruans would have recognized North Ossetia. Putin and Moscow's reputation as a sun and beach tourist destination. Be that as it may, what is clear is that a new wave of opportunities is coming to Nauru from China. And now we want to ask you some questions. Do you think this gamble will work out well for the Nauruans? And will they know how to manage so much wealth? Or will they waste it again as they did with the phosphates? Will China benefit from this new investment? Do you think there is a possibility of reconciliation between Taiwan and Nauru? You can leave me your answers down in the comments. And as always, don't forget that we release new videos every week, so subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of our updates. If you like this video, like it, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care. See you soon.